Right, it's about March the 14th today. It's a lovely sunny day, and although we've had probably one of the wettest winters I can ever remember, it's now actually looking really nice. The fish are moving. This swim on the Brook Lake at Carthagena Fisheries done a 29 common last night, and I took the opportunity of moving in here this afternoon just to sort of hopefully catch something and do a little catch up, little blog, let you know what I've been up to. Basically, since Christmas, I've been spending a bit of time over on Frimley, over near Farnborough, and prior to that I didn't really get out a lot over the Christmas period, but I did manage to catch a really nice one out of Carthagena Syndicate. It was a couple of days before Christmas. One of my pals was fishing on the lake, and he kept asking me to come and get the rods out. Although I knew the conditions were really good, I just weren't really sort of into it at the time, and ended up finally sort of giving in. One night the air pressures were really low and it just looked bang on, so I moved in next door to my mate, more for a social than anything. I slung out a couple of little choddies, and I literally put 4 big handfuls of wicked whites around each rod, shelf lifes, straight out my bucket here. They'd been in there a while, and I thought that'd do. Anyway, cut long story short, first thing in the morning I've had a take. Well, basically I was in my mate's swim next door having a coffee, and we heard a couple of bleeps, and that's when I sort of went to investigate. The rod tip was pulled round, and one of the fish that I really do want to catch, the linear from the Syndicate, is just an awesome carp. It was one of them on my list, and whilst I was playing it I thought please let it be the linear, and luckily for me it was. And at 39.9 I was absolutely made up, and that really was a nice Christmas present, to be honest. And I kind of thought I'll tuck the rods away for a little while now and chill out over the Christmas period, which I've done. And since then I've just really been like backwards and forwards to Frimley, torrential rain every single time I went now. I managed to get a couple of fish on single wicked white pop-ups, like fished on choddies. I think I had a really nice mirror of just under 28. I had a 20 common, yeah, I had a 20 common, and then really and truthfully I knew the zigs were going to start to come into their own, and it's that time of year, and I absolutely love zig fishing, and I was just really trying to get the depth really where the fish were, and it took me a couple of sessions. I was still messing around with depths and trying to figure out, you know, and a few people were catching them on the bottom still, but I just had it in my head that no, they're coming up in the layers. I know they are. Every single year it's exactly the same at this time, and they are coming up in the layers. And funny enough, I finally got a take, but it was only about 3 foot off the bottom. And I've had I think the first one was, I had a 19 in one swim during the day, and then I moved into a swim after a guy packed up, and at 20 past midnight I've had another take. This fish rucked like hell, absolutely battled me, and I was absolutely convinced I had one of the big ones of the water. Like, there's various 40s in there. There's probably a dozen 40s in there at the right time. Anyway, turned out to be a 28 common. I was over the moon. It was another one to the zigs, and I kind of sussed out where what depths they were at. I was fishing to a bar. The bar sticks out of the water, and there's a couple of markers along the bar, like a stick and a big rock. And I was getting as close as I could to these spots along the bar, and sometimes even casting the lead slightly on the side of the bar and pulling it off down into the shelf off the shelf a little bit, as I felt it tap down. And I must have been sort of just over half depth, I would have thought. But anyway, I was fishing at about my zigs were 3 foot. It's fairly short, isn't it, really? But that's where they were. The next day, I was sitting in the swim next door, one of my mates, and I've heard the ducks sort of freak out. They jumped over my lines, and I thought they'd caught my line, but as I looked through the trees I see my line picking up out the water, and it was in fact a take. And I run back round and started playing this fish. Nigel Sharp was with me, and I see it roll close in, and it was a scale. No, to begin with it swam towards me really fast, and I remember thinking, like, it winding down, and I kept thinking, is it on, is it off, is it on? And I said to Nigel, it's either a really small fish or it's a really clever fish. And luckily for me it turned out to be a really clever fish, and a really scaly one. I see it roll, that big plate's like glinting off the little bit of sun that we had that day, and I was just like, knew I'd caught one of the special ones. I've always known that there's 3 or 4 really heavily plated mirrors in there, and I've desperately wanted to catch one. That was one of my targets, to be fair. Anyway, this one went in the net, and Nigel said, like, we probably need to get a bar to weigh this, it could go 40. And you can imagine how I felt. Anyway, once on the bank and all settled, it went at 38 plus. I was just blown away. I was gobsmacked. Once again, the zigs have caught me, one of the stunners of the lake, one of the jewels. Every single year, zig fishing this time of year for the next month or so has always produced something special for me, and it always picks out that really rare one as well. Apparently that scaly one out of the 4 is the one that doesn't come out that often, so I was absolutely made up. And I went back again last week and lost. I had a sort of a dodgy take in the night and another 20 common, so they're still working for me. I never managed to get over there this week, hence me having a little dabble on my own fishery while the sun's out. So I'm hoping by the morning we'll have something else to show you. Like I say, it's the 14th of March. It's early days yet, but spring is coming, boys. Be lucky.